One of the most basic responsibilities we have as representatives of the people is to protect the citizens of Pennsylvania. Tragically, across our Commonwealth, citizens have been suffering at the hands of illegal immigrants who commit crimes in our communities. We have sanctuary municipalities that have overstepped their bounds and have created policies that are equivalent to their own immigration laws that prevent cooperation with our federal authorities. It is time to take a hard stand to prevent this lack of cooperation between our local law enforcement and our federal authorities. We must uphold federal law. We are a nation of laws, and when local government ignores and violates them, we at the state level have an obligation to hold our local governments accountable. For the full definition of sanctuary municipalities, I direct you to my legislation. But in brief, sanctuary municipalities blatantly disregard federal law in matters of illegal immigration through either written policies or a pattern of willful non-compliance. For example, Philadelphia, a declared sanctuary city by Mayor Jim Kenney, is in clear violation of Title VIII of the United States Code, Sections 1373A through B, 1644, in which Congress has specifically prohibited state and local governments from restricting communication with the federal government regarding immigration status of individuals. There is no debate that illegal aliens have harmed Americans. In 2011, the Government Accountability Office released a study on approximately 250,000 illegal aliens in federal, state, and local prisons. Those prisoners had been arrested nearly 1.7 million times and committed 3 million offenses, averaging about 7 arrests and 12 offenses each. Let me emphasize that. Illegal aliens were convicted of 3 million offenses as of 2011 against our citizens. These are just the offenses that were successfully prosecuted. It troubles me to think of all the other families who were devastated because an illegal alien harmed their family. I'm confident that that number has grown, and as more and more municipalities have offered sanctuary for illegal immigrants. This sanctioned lack of cooperation has resulted in the following local incidents as well. Last month, federal authorities arrested 3 at-large criminal aliens after they were released from custody in Philadelphia. These men had previous convictions including assault, DUI, and narcotics manufacturing. In 2015, Ramon Aguirre Ochoa, an illegal alien, was released from police custody when Philadelphia authorities refused to work with federal immigration authorities. He has now been charged with raping a child. In 2013, Jose Palermo Ramirez, a 43-year-old illegal immigrant, was convicted of indecent assault on a 7-year-old girl. These heinous crimes are just a small sample of what happens when local officials offer sanctuary to illegal aliens. Nationally, Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez, the confessed killer of Catherine Steinle, said he knew he was safe in San Francisco because it was a sanctuary city. That case shows illegal immigrants feel safe when states have sanctuary municipalities. This influx of population puts a strain on our taxpayer-funded resources, including healthcare, education, city services, and undercutting wages. Illegal immigrants who commit additional crimes are putting a strain on our legal and prison systems. To illustrate how illegal immigration can negatively affect a small town in Pennsylvania, I would like to recount the personal experience of Congressman Lou Barletta. And I quote, "This issue wasn't something that I dreamt up while I was mayor. I experienced the problem of illegal immigration firsthand, and I think it's more obvious in a small town like Hazleton, which was a population of 30,000, because you can see the changes in the community and how illegal immigration actually affects a city such as ours. For example, the wait time in the emergency room grew to 7, 8, 9 hours as illegal aliens are using the emergency room for primary health care. Our population in Hazleton grew by 50%, which is a huge growth of a city, but yet our tax revenue remained the same. So it became very difficult for us in trying to provide services to people in the city without the revenue growth that was growing with the population. So it affects the quality of life in our city. And then, May 10th, 2006, a day I'll never forget, Derek Kitchling, a 29-year-old father of 3 young children, while working on his pickup truck in Hazleton, had some words with Pedro Cabrera. Pedro Cabrera was in the country illegally, arrested 6 times in New York City and other cities before he came to Hazleton, New York City being another sanctuary city. Cabrera didn't like what Kitchling had to say, went into his car, got a gun, stuck it in Derek's face, and shot and killed him point blank. We spent half of our yearly budget in overtime in the police department in finding and catching Cabrera and his buddy. Our police department worked 36 hours straight until we got him. I sat with Mr. and Mrs. Kitchling and tried to answer the question as to why was this man still in the country when he had been arrested before. Derek Kitchling should have been alive today, and Pedro Cabrera should not have been in the country had it not been for a sanctuary city not enforcing the law. I began speaking around Pennsylvania, and I remember going to central Pennsylvania at a town hall meeting, and at the end of the meeting, a young couple came up to me, and they said that they drove an hour to hear me speak. They wanted to tell me about their daughter. Her name was Carly Snyder. She was 20 years old, studying to be a veterinarian. Her next-door neighbor was in the country illegally from Honduras. He had been arrested in Houston prior to coming to Pennsylvania, another sanctuary city. The man broke into Carly's house, as the father told me. A tear was coming down his cheek. He stabbed his daughter 37 times. Carly had knife wounds in the palms of her hand, and she had knife wounds in her back as she bled to death on the kitchen floor. He told me that I'm speaking for Carly now, and that's why he wanted to come to see me. I can't forget that. I can't forget the time with Derek Kitchling's family and the story of Carly Snyder. After hearing Congressman Lou Barletta's personal experience, I also cannot forget stories like Derek Kitchling and Carly Snyder. I hope these incidents that occurred open your eyes to the dire need to rid our state of these unlawful sanctuary policies. Common sense tells us that when an illegal immigrant has been convicted of a crime in our state and has served their sentence, our federal government should be informed of the illegal immigrant's release date, so deportation can be arranged in a time frame consistent with the federal government's guidelines. This does not happen in sanctuary municipalities, and federal law clearly indicates that when state and local laws or actions are not responsive to federal control or direction, or categorically demand enforcement in such a way as to deprive the federal government and state and local officers of the flexibility and discretion that animates the federal government's ability to globally supervise immigration enforcement, do not constitute the requisite cooperation within the meaning of the law. This is why we need House Bill 1885. In contrast to sanctuary municipalities, House Bill 1885 does not create new immigration law. It simply mandates the cooperation of local municipalities with the federal government. As federal immigration law enforcement continues to evolve, this legislation allows for the continued cooperation with federal authorities in perpetuity. It is a simple fact. Local municipalities cannot create their own de facto immigration laws, nor can they create policies that actively violate federal law. Our federal government demands cooperation in illegal immigration matters. I know there are strong feelings on both sides of this issue. However, this is an important issue that has bipartisan support. The Obama administration is opposed to sanctuary cities, as are other prominent Pennsylvania Democrats, including Mayor Nutter and Governor Ed Rendell, who, as you know, are both former mayors of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's largest sanctuary city. When leaders from both parties stand up and say sanctuary municipalities are wrong, we must do so as well. Many who oppose this legislation call it anti-immigrant and denigrate its supporters. This is simply not true. It is a straw man argument. I support legal immigration and welcome immigrants with open arms. Immigration is part of our history and part of what has made America great. Immigration brings diversity, culture, and more to our society. Further, this legislation does not even address the broader issue of illegal immigration. This legislation deals with one point only: following the law for those who are here illegally and have committed a crime against our community. Anyone who says otherwise has not read the bill or simply does not care to learn the truth. For the safety of our citizens, we must utilize the rights granted to the states by the federal government to cooperate with their authorities to help end sanctuary cities. Today, you have an important decision to make, colleagues. Will you stand with the citizens of Pennsylvania, or will you stand with the extreme policies that have served to shield even the most violent illegal immigrants who have committed crimes against our citizens? Thank you, and I urge a yes vote.